Hi there, Jana. So it looks like you've sent us another set of essays. It looks also like you have supplied your own task 1 here. I wish you would have referred to the one that was in the online course. That would have been a much wiser decision. But let's take a look and see what you did here. Car rental company, air conditioning. Okay. Dear Sir or Madam, I am writing to express my extreme dissatisfaction with the poor quality of service. You know what? There's such an easier way to say this. Rather than the poor quality of the service, just say with the poor quality service done that your rental company offered. I am Jana Mabu, an elite member of your company. All right, I really am not a huge fan of this expression, an elite member of your company. What does that mean? If you say that you are an elite member of your company, what you're basically saying is that you belong to that person's company, you work there, you are a high-level executive, but what makes it worse is that nobody ever refers to themselves as an elite member. Okay, so even if I am the CEO of a company, I would never say that I am an elite member of the company. It's a word that other people use to refer to other people, but we never use to refer to ourselves. So we have to scratch all of this and just maybe I think a better solution would be to say, I am Jana Mabu, a regular customer of your company. I had rented a 7-seater family van from your fleet service from the 23rd to the 30th of September. The reservation and the car license plate number are this and this respectively. Okay, fine. All right, I really also am not a huge fan of this expression. Let me explain the situation in detail. It sounds like a command, and since this is a formal letter, commands are just not okay. You're trying to be as indirect and as formal and as polite as possible. So saying, let me do this, or, allow me to do this and so forth, really just don't cut it. So instead, I would like to explain the situation in more detail. Although the car had no issues for the initial 3 days, the auto climate control suddenly stopped working, which made it impossible to use in this terrible weather. When I reported this to the roadside assistance, they sent, get rid of this had, they sent a mechanic to resolve the problem. Oh, capital H here. However, he was not able to fix it, and it needed a replacement. Grammar. I suggest I be given a full refund of the amount I paid, and please initiate the refund to the enclosed bank account that I have sent along with this letter. I would appreciate if you could provide me a gift card or a complimentary incentive for all the inconvenience caused. Okay. Let's see. Whoa, sorry. I look forward to hearing from you at your earliest convenience. Don't forget to write that word. Yours faithfully. Okay, so on the whole, it's okay, but there are some things that are missing for me. All right, great. So the auto climate button didn't work. Okay, so, if you are expecting this company to give you a full refund, as you state, you really need to express to the company why this created such a huge problem for you, which justifies a full refund, okay? Because there are a lot of people who can live without air conditioning, and you know what? They're fine. So you have to explain why this is such an issue and why it deserves a full refund, which means more development, more extension, more opportunities for you to show your language abilities, okay? So what you could have said is that you had with you an elderly relative and a newborn baby who needed to be absolutely comfortable in the weather, and were unable to breathe adequately in the nearly 40 degrees Celsius weather. Okay, so that's the kind of extension you need to give here. It's not just enough to say, oh, well, we didn't have air conditioning, so it was uncomfortable. No, you have to go a step further to explain why this justifies a full refund. Does that make sense? I hope it does. It should. Okay? You needed to go a step further. I didn't see a word count. It looked like it was okay in terms of the word count, but sometimes word count is not really the best indicator of topic development. So I'm telling you right now that I felt like you needed to say a little bit more about this. Okay, you told me that the car was okay for 3 days and that all of a sudden it stopped working and that roadside assistance didn't help. And I'm telling you that that's just not enough information. Prove to me why this deserves a full refund. Okay, does that make sense? I hope so. Let's go on. The rest of it was okay. Let's see what else you said here. Oops, I don't know why this keeps happening today with you. Let's see. All right. So, extended business hours of shops. Let's see what you said here. Whether business, no, let's fix the grammar here, Jana, okay? So, whether businesses extending their working hours daily is beneficial or not has been debatable over the last few years. While some people believe that this has a positive impact, I would argue that this has a more negative impact. All right, it's a little repetitive in terms of your words. You could have used some cohesion here to make this better. While some people believe this has a positive impact, I would argue that it is more negative. Done. This essay will discuss why it has a negative impact, singular, even though it has some positives. All right, again, it's very repetitive. Positive impacts, negative impacts. Negative impacts, positives, okay? Very repetitive. So what you really need to do is you need to consolidate some of these words, use some cohesion to make it a better essay. Let's try it one more time. So, while some people believe that this has a positive impact, I would argue that it is more negative. This essay will discuss the advantages. This essay will discuss how the advantages outweigh the disadvantages using examples from New York City, 3 words here, capital Y, capital C, and Harvard Business School, know the, to demonstrate points, improve arguments. Okay? Does that work better for you? It works better for me, so let's move on. On the one hand, there is ample evidence that, On the one hand, there is ample evidence that supports that shops generate more revenue by extending business hours. This is primarily because This is primarily because it is increasingly common for most city dwellers and most metropolitan and cosmopolitan, just metropolitan or cosmopolitan, but not most. So again, this is primarily because it is increasingly common for most city dwellers in most metropolitan cities to work till late, and they often prefer to go shopping after their shift. To illustrate this, a recent study by Harvard Business School, indicates that the Cub Foods generated more revenue when they extended their business hours by 2 hours. However, there are some additional operating costs involved in this, and it is negligible when compared to the annual revenue it generates. All right, I don't understand why this, however, is here. I don't see how it helps your argument. Supposedly, you are trying to talk about how this is such a positive step and how there is more revenue generated. So I don't really understand where this last sentence fit in. So rather than a however here, it probably would have made sense for you to say therefore it is clear that more money is generated for businesses when business hours are extended. Let's keep moving. On the other hand, store, no stores. Store operating out, no, stores operating, let's see. On the other hand, stores operating longer hours result, no would, in more power consumption, which is a significant reason for global warming. This is obvious because these commercial spaces use more power for lighting, air conditioning, elevators, and for providing other services to the consumers. Full stop here. To illustrate this, lowercase if. if all the businesses in New York, no the, operate, no S, only for 6 hours a day, this would save several thousands of kilowatts daily, resulting in 35% less power consumption. Therefore, it is possible to say beyond doubt that longer business hours contribute, get rid of will, to exacerbating global warming. Okay, to conclude, lowercase a, although extending operating hours of businesses can enhance their revenue, it is also important to consider the fact that it increases the power consumption, which is a more serious issue. So I firmly agree that this trend has a more negative impact. Full stop. Okay, so I looked through your essay one more time, and now what I want to do is I want to look at the question again and make sure that, I hate when it does that. Let's see. Let's take a look. It says, is this a positive or negative development, and to what extent do you support it? All right, that's what I want to just double check. So, you know what? In terms of task achievement, you're fine. You've basically said that while there are some positives, it has negative impacts, and it sounds like on the whole, even though you didn't say it, it would have been good to answer the second question as well, just to say that, yeah, you know what? Despite its positives, it does have negatives, and I believe that the negatives are more. Because remember, there are two questions here. They're separate questions, so it's good to address both of them. You said it kind of here, but just, again, refer to that second question as well. You were fine. What I was worried about was that it asked you to talk about positives and negatives. It didn't, so you're all set. I thought it was fine. I think there was still a little bit more you could have done to just deepen your arguments a little more. Just go one step further. In other words, what am I trying to say? Examiners like their hand to be held. So if you're trying to say something, you should really just hold the hand of the examiner and really just step by step take them to where you want to go. You should never assume that your reader understands something you're trying to say. And that's not because your reader is not intelligent, but because it's very important that you understand that the reader, or in this case the examiner, may not understand the argument the way you understand it. So it's really important to go that step beyond and extend and just really, really, really explain as clearly and as in detail as possible. So I thought you could have done a little bit more in terms of the development here. Other than that, it was okay. I already talked about your task one. I think we're okay there. So go ahead, Jana, correct these, return them back to us. Do you have another set with us? I'm really not sure at this point. I thought you did. So go ahead and get that started, and let's see another set from you. I'm excited to see you really applying everything we've been talking about, okay? So go ahead and get that done, and we'll meet back here. Good luck.